welcome back, fourth grade. Now that we have learned about the legislative branch, we are going to move into learning about the executive branch. So, this book is called The Presidency. We are in lesson one, so we're going to listen to our intro as well as chapters one and two. Today, we are learning to understand how the president works within the executive branch to balance our government powers. We know we will be successful when we understand what the executive branch does, the roles of the president, and who can be president today. We have lots of vocabulary within our first two chapters that I'm going to cover. So, our first vocabulary word is the oath of office. So, this is the formal promise of a public official to perform the duties of a job faithfully. We will read more about that one soon. The second word is inauguration. It is a formal ceremony to place someone in an official position. Word number three is term, the set length of time an elected official serves in office, and we heard that term in our last story too. The next vocabulary word is veto, is a refusal to approve a legislative bill. We have the vocabulary word of cabinet, a group of senior officials who advise the head of state. The next word is executive. This is related to the branch of government that enforces laws. The president is part of the executive branch, and that's the one we're really going to be learning about today. Our next word is foreign policy. This is plans that a government follows when dealing with other countries. We have the word federal. This is relating to a form of government in which states are united under one central power. So everything falls under federal if it's related to the entire United States. And our last word is impeach, and that is to bring charges against a public official for a crime. We learned about the word impeach in our last book as well. So, what's it like to be president? We're going to watch our introduction video about what it's like to be president.
Is it true that the presidency of the United States is one of the most powerful jobs in the world? Yes, but did you know that the president's power is limited by law? According to the U.S. Constitution, the president must share power with the other two branches of government. Every 4 years, American voters decide who will fill the nation's top job. The president commands the armed forces, works with other world leaders, and makes sure the nation's laws are carried out. The White House, the president's home in Washington, D.C., hums with activity from dawn until late at night. Many presidents have faced crises. Abraham Lincoln guided the nation during the Civil War. George W. Bush worked hard to keep Americans safe after terrorist attacks on September 11, 2001. Being president is one tough job, but to those who take on the challenge, the privilege of leading the nation is worth the hard work. To find out more about the presidency, read the book.
So, we are going to move into our book, The Presidency. So, this is a true book, and it says the first president to use the Oval Office was William Howard Taft. He had it painted bright green. Okay, so in chapter one, we're going to see who can be president. So, do you know that most adult American citizens can become president of the United States? There are three requirements. The person must have been born in the United States. So we learned that that was different. And if you wanted to serve in Congress, you just had to be a citizen. So to be a president, you have to be born in the United States. He or she has to be at least 35 years old, and a president must have lived in the United States for at least 14 years. So over here it says, in this engraving, George Washington takes the oath of office as the first president of the United States. The date was April 30th, 1789. It says the first president was elected in 1789, 2 years after the Constitution was written. Okay. So one job, many duties. Once he or she takes office, the president is in charge of the country's relations with the rest of the world. The president leads the people when disaster occurs. He or she heads the military. The president also makes sure the laws of the United States Constitution are followed. The Constitution is the document that created our government. It is the highest law in the country. Here, our caption says the president's office is called the Oval Office. The walls of this room are curved. So, being president is a challenge, but the job pays well. The president earns $400,000 per year. He or she also receives $50,000 for office expenses and another $100,000 for travel. And the president gets to live in the house shown below, which we hopefully know is the White House. The White House is where the presidents have lived and worked since 1800. The White House is in Washington, D.C. Chapter 2, the Presidency. The first thing every president does is take an oath of office. The new president promises to do the best job possible for the United States. This takes place during a formal ceremony called an inauguration. It is held on January 20th, 2.5 months after an election. The president serves a 4-year term and could serve more than one term of office after that. So this year is an election year, and so that is where our current president is losing that 4-year term. So we get to decide if we want a new president or if we will have that president again. So our caption up here says this photo is of Grover Cleveland during his inauguration in 1885. During the inauguration ceremony, a new president takes the oath of office. Over here, it says the oath of office is in the Constitution, Article 2, Section 1. Look it up. We will be diving more into the Constitution later throughout our study, so be on the lookout for that. Okay, many hats, many hands. There's no good way to put me. There we go. The president makes sure the nation's laws are followed. He or she also has the power to approve or block new laws made by Congress. This is where that balancing section happens. So we learned about Congress and how they make laws. They can't just decide that that law is going to follow through. The president has to be able to accept or decline that. If the president doesn't like a law, he or she can veto it. Congress can still pass a law after a president's veto, but 2/3 of Congress must vote to do so. Here in our caption, it says Henry Kissinger, here on our left, Secretary of State under President Nixon, with Pham Dang Lam during their 1972 talks to end the Vietnam War. So, the president's relationships with everyone else in the world is another giant part of their job. Over here, it says the president has cabinet officers who give advice and also help run the executive branch. The president chooses cabinet members, but they must be confirmed by the Senate. The president sets foreign policy. He or she is also in charge of the Army, Navy, and other branches of the military. The president also appoints judges for the federal or national courts. These include the justices of the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land. And that's our third branch, our judicial branch. So we're going to talk about that. They are part of our 3-tier system to balance each other out. The decisions of the Supreme Court affect the rights for all citizens. Supreme Court justices can keep their jobs for the rest of their lives. So President Reagan appointed Sandra Day O'Connor to be the first woman Supreme Court justice. Impeachment. We learned a little bit about impeachment, but the president is powerful, but the law is more powerful. Congress can impeach or accuse a president of committing a crime. The House of Representatives makes the accusation. The Senate then holds a trial. The president is removed from office if 2/3 of the senators vote him or her guilty. Only 2 presidents have been impeached, Andrew Johnson and Bill Clinton. The Senate did not find either one guilty. Richard Nixon resigned when it looked as if he would be impeached. We talked about that in our last book, too. On August 8th, 1974, President Richard Nixon resigned from office. Newspapers reported his decision before he made his televised announcement to the American people that night. So, here we have who takes over. So, what happens if a president dies or leaves office? The vice president takes over. Well, what if something happens to the vice president, and so on? President Harry Truman signed the Presidential Succession Act in 1947. This law answers that question. The order of succession list is 18 people long. Here are the first 5. So if the president dies or leaves office or something happens, the person after is the vice president. After that is the Speaker of the House. After that is the President pro tempore of the Senate. It says this person is elected by members of the Senate. Number 4 is Secretary of State. And number 5 is Secretary of the Treasury. So on November 22nd, 1963, President John F. Kennedy was assassinated. Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson was sworn in 2 hours later aboard the president's airplane, Air Force One. So that's what we see here was him being sworn in. Okay, so that wraps up chapters 1 and 2. So, your question for today is, what is the job of the legislative branch as part of our government? Very important to know, so reflect on it. Make sure you know that answer for your teachers. Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful day.